After the unbelievable failure that was Flight 7, many of us were left in shambles by how big of a mistake SpaceX made. The issue was so severe that it completely disrupted SpaceX's launch calendar for this year and threw the company's progress back a couple of months, leaving Flight 8 under a huge question mark. However, after SpaceX got itself back together and found the source to all the issues of Flight 7, they've reworked the flight plan for the 8 launch, and these changes will all but ensure the company's success. So, what changes have been made? When can we expect the 8 launch to commence, and what does this mean for the future? Let's dive in. Now, before Flight 7 met its fiery end, Flight 8 was already mapped out as another high-stakes test in the Starship program. SpaceX had envisioned this mission as another incremental step towards full reusability and operational capability. The original plan included 4 major objectives. First of all, a higher altitude flight. Now, while the earlier test flights focused on lower altitude hops and controlled descents, Flight 8 was intended to go beyond this, reaching altitudes that mimic conditions closer to true orbital insertions. Second of all is maneuverability testing. The controversial yet necessary belly flop maneuver was to be further refined, testing the ship's ability to control descent using aerodynamic surfaces. Third of all was a landing flip execution, which required successfully flipping the massive Starship from its horizontal descent back to a vertical landing orientation. The rapid and precise reignition of the Raptor engines would also be put to the test here. Finally, we had payload deployment simulation, and while not carrying a commercial payload, Flight 8 was aimed to test systems necessary for future cargo and crew missions. It was by all means a logical progression in the SpaceX's iterative design process, but then Flight 7 happened. So, what went wrong with Flight 7? Well, everything seemed normal as Flight 7 ascended, but then disaster struck. Approximately 10 minutes after liftoff, a fire broke out, leading to a catastrophic failure, and initial analysis pointed to a fuel leak which caused a loss of pressure, ultimately leading to the structural collapse and an unplanned assembly over the Gulf of Mexico. Debris was observed trailing into the Caribbean, and while no damage was reported on ground, the FAA took notice, initiating a thorough investigation. From a technical perspective, there were 3 key takeaways from Flight 7's failure. Number 1, engine vulnerabilities. The Raptor engines, while incredibly powerful, are still prone to anomalies, and a fire within the propulsion system spelled doom for the vehicle. Number 2 is the structural integrity. A loss of pressure in any part of the system can cascade into total failure, and the Starship needs to be reinforced in critical areas. And number 3, thermal management. The immense heat generated during ascent and re-entry needs better handling mechanisms to prevent fuel-related incidents. Now, SpaceX, never one to back down from a challenge, took these lessons and immediately set to work to improve the Starship for Flight 8. As we all know, failure is only a problem if you don't learn from it, and SpaceX is proving yet again why it's the leader in rapid iteration. After analyzing the Flight 7 anomaly, the company implemented key changes to ensure that Flight 8 stands a better chance of success. First of all were reinforced structural components. A major takeaway from Flight 7 was that critical areas of the ship needed better reinforcement. Engineers have made adjustments to the propellant tanks and fuselage to prevent cascading failures from minor leaks, like with what happened in Flight 7. Second of all is improved engine monitoring and fire suppression. The Raptor engines now feature additional sensors to detect potential failures before they become catastrophic. SpaceX has also improved fire suppression systems in key areas, reducing the chance of another engine-related explosion. Third of all is thermal protection enhancements. Heat resistance remains a top priority, and SpaceX has upgraded Starship's heat shielding, particularly around areas where excessive heat buildup contributed to issues in previous flights. Fourth on the line is flight software optimization. Software failures can be just as dangerous as hardware ones, and the flight control algorithms have also been adjusted to improve response times during critical and crucial moments like the belly flop maneuver and landing flip. Fifth is the regulatory compliance and FAA coordination. The FAA has been actively engaging in reviewing SpaceX's corrective measures, and SpaceX has also ensured that all the necessary regulatory approvals are in place, avoiding any bureaucratic roadblocks that could delay Flight 8's schedule. All of this just shows us how ambitious Flight 8 will be, because it is more than just another test. It's a statement, a declaration that failure will not define the Starship program. SpaceX's ambitions for this mission are nothing short of groundbreaking. If all goes as planned, Flight 8 will climb higher than any previous Starship prototype. The altitude target is designed to simulate real-world orbital launch conditions, preparing the system for eventual crewed missions. In addition to that, SpaceX also intends on perfecting the belly flop maneuver. Previous Starship tests have seen mixed results when it comes to the landing. The goal is to fine-tune the aerodynamics, ensuring that Starship can maintain controlled descent and execute its dramatic launch flip with precision. Plus, because the Starship is designed to survive the brutal conditions of atmospheric re-entry, Flight 8 will push the envelope, gathering crucial data on heat shielding, aerodynamics, and structural integrity as the spacecraft makes its way back towards the landing zone. Also, SpaceX's long-term vision relies on making the Starship fully reusable, significantly cutting launch costs. Flight 8 will be another step towards proving that a single vehicle can launch, land, and launch again with a minimal refurbishment. Now, once Flight 8 successfully demonstrates its capabilities, SpaceX will be in a strong position to move forward with full orbital flights, bringing them back on the same track that they were prior to Flight 7. The data gathered will be instrumental in preparing for SpaceX's first full-stack orbital attempt, bringing Starship closer to operational readiness. However, what happens if Flight 8 fails? It is important to acknowledge the reality of these tests. Failure is an option, but failure isn't the end. SpaceX operates on an ethos of rapid iteration, and even if Flight 8 doesn't stick to the landing, the company will take the lessons learned and immediately apply them to Flight 9 and beyond. A failure would likely mean additional structural adjustments for the next iteration, further fine-tuning of Raptor engine performance, and more data for improving aerodynamic control. And if Flight 8 succeeds, then we will be one step closer to humanity setting foot on Mars. So, when can we expect the flight to happen? Well, as of now, SpaceX has not officially announced a specific date for Starship Flight 8. However, based on current preparations and regulatory considerations, the launch is anticipated to occur in February 2025, so this month, with rough estimations saying 24th of February. This projection aligns with SpaceX's rapid development pace and their efforts to address issues identified during Flight 7. It's important to note that the FAA has mandated a thorough investigation into the Flight 7 incident, which could influence the timeline for Flight 8 and probably future flights. SpaceX is currently actively collaborating with the FAA to ensure all safety protocols are met before proceeding with the next test flight. Now, with every test, SpaceX moves closer to its ultimate goal, a fully operational Starship capable of carrying humans to the Moon, Mars, and beyond. The upcoming Artemis missions, NASA contracts, and private space tourism ventures all hinge on Starship proving itself as a reliable, reusable space vehicle. Beyond just exploration, Starship has the potential to also revolutionize transportation on Earth itself. Imagine point-to-point travel that allows passengers to reach any destination on the planet in under an hour. That's not science fiction, it's an achievable reality with a fully operational Starship fleet. And as the launch date for Flight 8 approaches, the excitement builds. Will this be the test that finally sticks the landing? Will we see a fully controlled high-altitude descent? Regardless of the outcome, one thing is certain: SpaceX is not slowing down.